All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of What's What PR. Today we've got Matthew Laborde with us. Matthew, how are you?
Doing great, Brandon. Thanks for having me.
No, not a problem. I would normally introduce where you're at, but by the background, we're going to let everybody guess. But no, you are the principal, owner, founder, broker, agent of Elephant Real Estate, correct?
That is right.
So tell me, what's that elevator pitch for anybody who doesn't necessarily know what Elephant does other than just real estate? There's a little bit more to it, I think, right?
Well, pretty much. So we're a commercial real estate brokerage. So we help people. We have buyers, tenants, sellers, landlords buy and lease commercial property. Everything from multifamily apartment sales to retail, industrial, land, office space, self storage, you name it. Everything besides a single family residential home.
So single family home, not touching. Everything else is fair game.
Yes,
So
everything
if
else.
you got a big tract of land, you got the warehouse, anything,
A
and that
school,
probably
a
puts
movie
you
theater, whatever you got.
movie theater. There we go. I don't know that I want to buy a movie theater right now. That
You
might be
might want to
rough.
sell it though.
Exactly. So that's the point. You're on both sides of the table for everybody who doesn't necessarily know how this all works, but you guys can do represent buyer or seller. I was looking. You guys got pretty substantial amount of property listed. On the website I was looking at right
Yeah.
before here. How long have you? When did you start it? When did you start it, and why? So
So started it in November 2016, and I was an agent at the time, right before, and just felt like I'd hit a ceiling and decided to go out on my own, give it a try.
that's I remember I kind of self-described myself as a serial entrepreneur to a fault, and
Okay.
I was told, I can remember two things. It's one, it's lonely at the top when
Okay.
you run your own business, and then two, entrepreneurship is like jumping off a cliff and putting the airplane together on the way down. So
That's a great way to describe it. That is a
so
great way to describe it.
it's kind of goes
Uh,
with my running. People ask, this last we would say 2020, but now we're 2021. What does it feel like? And the only analogy that I've been able to come up with to give everybody is it's like I'm juggling water, at the end of the day. Um, so how is commercial real estate right now?
Commercial
What
real estate
is,
is, yeah, it's wild. It's wild right now. It all depends on what property type you're talking about.
mhm,
Right now, industrial is very much in demand. It's hot right now. Retail has some challenges depending on if you're a restaurant, if you're a movie theater, if you're a discount retailer, which is actually doing well right now. Um, it really just depends on where you are in the spectrum of the great wild wide world of commercial real estate.
yes. Being, like you said, almost kind of sounds like the Wild Wild West right now. It's
You
it's
got a lot
all
of
over
people
the place.
moving in different directions. Some people their business is better than ever, and some people their business has never been worse. And so it's trying to help those one group expand, and you're trying to help the other group stay in business to the
Yeah.
extent possible.
And so, as far as you guys go, listings and that stuff, are you pretty much taking? You guys are Louisiana, right? Or Louisiana, anywhere else?
We're licensed in Louisiana and Mississippi,
Okay,
so we do work in both states. It all just depends on the size of the deal. So the bigger the deal, ye- the farther we will go. So we've done business from Naples, Florida to Germantown, Tennessee, and everywhere in between. But typically, our main market, if you will, is South Louisiana and specifically Baton Rouge.
gotcha. So, then what is it? For somebody who's, I feel like I'm asking. I know the answer, I think, or I know the answer.
Yeah.
But for somebody who just do you consider it a waste of time if someone's considering, possibly getting into commercial real estate? They're not 100% sure, but they just want to start kind of looking around and talking. Is that the person you want to talk to, or do you want the guy who's like, no, we're doing this, I just got to find the right one? You know?
Meaning prospective agents.
Yeah, for like a prospective buyer. Like if
Oh,
somebody's
like an
looking
investor.
around, like if I'm looking to, like, maybe I want to get into, like, I have some real estate, but it's residential,
Yeah.
and we do some real, and I've always said I probably should have gone the other way and just done warehouse space, because that's a whole lot easier to deal with.
In the
So
opposite end of the spectrum, for sure.
yeah. But is that
Yeah.
somebody, do you want that guy to call you, at the end of the day, or do you want him to be more kind of, he's ready, he's financing is ready, and you
Well,
just
a
got to
lot of
find him something?
people, we have a lot of clients that are successful business owners, and they have a lot of profit and gains from their primary business, which is sometimes not at all related to real estate, but they want to look at real estate for a possible way to diversify their income, leave something to their kids. And so if they don't know of anything, if they don't know enough to consider commercial real estate, but they are interested in exploring, absolutely, would love those people to call
Gotcha. So I guess I'm trying to think of what's the, how someone goes about, getting into it to begin with. Is that something that you've got to be the agent, or you kind of the life coach a little bit at the same time of,
me.
hey,
Yeah,
this is a good property, no, or do you get these
absolutely.
guys with buyer's remorse, or like, should I really do it? How do we
Yeah.
get into this?
Oh, that's
Seems like
super
it'd be a little
important.
bit.
That's where we provide the most value, because we've seen the heartaches and the sad stories about people buying property and it just not working out. So we can help them, advise them on what to avoid and what to look for.
Gotcha. Well, and you put together, last I saw, it's still coming out. It's the Pulse, right?
The
It's
pulse,
the
love
the
the pulse.
Pulse.
Yeah.
So I think for a little bit you were doing some video with it. You
Yes,
still
that's
doing the
right.
video?
Very
Still
good.
doing it?
Paying attention. I'm not doing the videos anymore. No, I am just doing. We just do the emails. So
Gotcha.
it's been really successful. The major driver of traffic to us is the Pulse newsletter.
And so where did that come, about? Like what, for anybody who doesn't know, we know we're sitting here talking about it. We're, in the thick of it, but the
Right.
Pulse is the pulse of the market, right? It's what
Yeah,
happened this week or this month, in real
exactly.
estate. And if you want to be the guy who knows or wants to act like you know everything that's going on, if you get that newsletter, you can just kind of read through that and then go have a conversation with anybody and act like you know what you're talking about, right?
Exactly. You'll know what's selling, who's opening what business, who's trying to redevelop some land. You'll you'll be in the know. No, it started with, that's a really good question. It started with me just being frustrated from an advisor standpoint of people asking me, how's the market, how's it doing? And usually me and every other agent in town, and really across the country, answers as far as that question, how's the market? They answer according to how their business is doing personally, right? So if their business is
Mm-hmm.
slow, they say it's the market's slow. If their business is on fire, they say the market's on fire. It's really relative to that person and really not a good indicator of how the market is.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody could answer the question before the polls, how many office buildings sold last year versus this year? How many retail shopping centers sold last year or over the last 5 years on average compared to this year? Like, where is the market today based off of a historical perspective, right? And we're just I was just very frustrated with that. And so we got our research team. They started tracking the sales. They went back 5 years into the past and to the court records, got all those sales, and then we started tracking it on a weekly basis for our own internal benefit. And we decided, our marketing director, Chase Weatherly, and I came up with the idea, why don't we take this internal research and send it out to our whole entire database of 15,000 people and for free every week as a newsletter. And so that's what we did.
No, and I think that's as you were describing it and talking about it, I say it all the time in business with all of my companies. Like, I want the data. I don't want the emotion.
Sure.
Give me the real data. If you
Right.
talk the example, maybe for somebody, it's like if you've got an employee who's late, for work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Mhm.
guarantee if somebody asks you on Friday, they're like, yeah, they're late all the time. It's like they could have been on time every day for the last 5 years, but you're emotionally, you're just going, every time I see them, they're late, walking
Yeah.
in. It's like, well, that's not an accurate statement. Get the emotion out of it. So,
Right.
so that's
Data.
pulled, and that's I was watching another podcast with one of the guys from your team, and he was talking about how it's important that you talked about that y'all went back. You go back 5 years because
Mhm.
you can't just do a year over year. In commercial real estate, it's 5 years is what you ultimately want to actually see that movement or the trend, I guess.
At least, yeah, yeah. It's very helpful.
So people can jump on, and I told somebody the other day to jump on the list because I think even if you're not necessarily in real estate, but if you know that, hey, I'm trying to do business with XYZ company and you see that they just bought another building,
Yeah.
that's a reason to go. I tell all of our team on the advertising, side, that's
Mhm.
the advertising side of the house. I tell them to subscribe to it because, hey, if a business is buying a new building or buying
Yeah.
some land, they've got a reason to advertise, and tell somebody,
It's a
at
great
this point.
point.
So
Yeah, I constantly hear more and more applications of it. It's great. And one of the things a lot of people don't go to the bottom of the newsletter to get this, but the permit information. We have the weekly building permits and occupancy permits, so you know who's expanding, who is and adding an addition onto their business. New businesses that are opening. It's some of the best information and insight into who's doing what in the market is in that permit data.
And so you guys pull this out every week, and this is it the Greater Baton Rouge area? The
East
what's
Baton
our
Rouge Parish.
sphere? East Baton Rouge Parish.
East Baton Rouge
So,
Parish. Yeah.
so how many people are beating you up to get it in Ascension and
They,
everywhere
they
else?
start researching that. You
Yeah,
say to expand the research and efforts into that.
yeah. You're getting people knocking down your door saying, "Hey, we like this, but we want it over here in Ascension,
Yeah.
or we want Livingston Data, or that
Well,
kind of thing."
thankfully, the price point is good that people don't demand too much. It's free, so people are people. I mean, we send it to everybody. We send it to appraisers. We send it to competitors. We send it to competitors' clients. We send it to everybody, and everybody gets it for free, and everybody's just happy. So
Mhm.
nobody's really asked for that, but when you really look at commercial real estate and where commercial real estate is, while we do a ton of business in Ascension and Livingston and West Baton Rouge and Iberville and et cetera, the vast majority of transactions take place in East Baton Rouge Parish. So
Gotcha.
it's a lot of effort for very little additional insight.
Yeah, it's not going to move the needle, probably, right?
Right. So
You've
if
got
you expanded it from one parish to nine parish, the nine parish MSA, you're talking about every jurisdiction has different clerk of court systems. Some are easily accessible, some are not. Some report it in a timely manner, some do not. And so when you're trying to rectify all of that stuff, it's just not worth it at the end of the day.
It's funny. So I remember somebody told me they were doing a business deal, and I don't know if it was shady or what it was they were doing, but
Mhm.
they were talking about how they were going to be filing their paperwork in a particular parish, and I was like, "Well, what are you doing?" They were like, "Yeah, because their system's not even online. If anybody wants to actually pull the records, they got to go there and pull it up." I was like,
Yeah,
"Well, what are you doing that
yeah.
you want to go all the way out there?"
Yeah, and
Uh,
back in the old days when I first started, that's how it was in East Baton Rouge. Like you had to go to the clerk of court office and actually look things up. But the kids starting nowadays, they don't understand the struggle.
That's yeah. It's isn't
They
that
think all
down? Is
all
that
new.
the basement in City Hall? Is that where ultimately it all
They
is?
have
Or
it. They have it there, and they had a branch on Coursey. They used to.
yeah,
That I don't know
or
still. still in existence, but
No, the one on Corsi, because I'd had an office there at one time. I think Investar's taken the whole building now. It's
right.
I drive down. It's Investar Tower, and my daughter and I have a joke that's like, "How are you a tower at 3 stories?" You know, it's
That's
the
a good
Investar building, is what she always says. It's not a
one.
tower.
Yeah, I don't think Investor Building though looks as good on the.
It doesn't sound as good when you
Yeah, it
say we
doesn't
have
sound as good.
our corporate office tower. So, um, no. So, what's anything new happening, or is it the same kind of run of the mill commercial real estate? Anything new going on in the space? Is I hate to bring COVID up some over it at this point, but
Mhm.
anything new kind of happening as far as that goes?
Yeah, yeah. With COVID, I mean, it's really shaken up the retail world in a
Hmm.
lot of ways, and to a certain extent, office. Retail, you have national retailers filing bankruptcy, every other week, which is an interesting dynamic if you do a lot of landlord rep shopping center leasing like we do. Um, but that's slowed down, thankfully, some lately. And for strong, well located centers, the demand has been really strong throughout this, which has been a good sign. Office space, you have, like I'm sitting here in an office that, um, you know, might have been tight pre-COVID, but now we've got some extra room and because some employees aren't coming to the office anymore or as frequently, which is good and bad in certain ways. But I think a lot of national companies are looking at their office space and deciding that they either need less space or they just don't need more space. They don't need to expand like they may have thought a year or two ago, and they want more flexible terms, so they want shorter leases.
Mm. I'm hoping. Um, I've done a lot of work outside of Louisiana, and what we don't have here, and what I'm hoping that will pop up. I think we have like maybe there's 2 places in the commercial real estate world that does. I think there's a little small place on Sherwood, and then a place over I think in United Plaza. But I'm used to be a member of like the WeWork,
You
office,
work, yeah,
part, system. For anybody that doesn't
yeah,
know, that's the you just kind of rent an area, and if you have a membership, if you're in Atlanta, you can go to the WeWork in Atlanta. If you're in New York, you can go
hmm,
there. I'm hoping that we'll get some more of that here because I think that I like that environment. It was a way to collaborate. It was able to get
really,
there, and I think you're seeing. I've talked to a number of different business owners that have said, no, we're not going to shrink down, but what we are going to do is to make more common work area that
yeah,
we're kind of hot desking. People can kind of jump, in and out. So,
yeah, yeah. So the WeWork business model has really suffered during COVID because a lot of their leases are month to month, right? So
mhm.
if you need only one office, but you're not going to the office anymore, well, you can just cancel that lease. But the thought is maybe some of these people, companies that are in bigger office spaces, decide post COVID and as we get through COVID, to have more flexible space or downsizing. And so you really could see an uptick in demand for that sort of space.
I didn't think about that with the WeWork, but you're right. It is a monthly, and they weren't in the best of shape to begin with.
Right,
If
right.
anybody had kept up,
Yeah.
they had a
And
lot of
WeWork, you
holes.
got Regis. Regis has a full floor in One American Place and a building off Sherwood. And then you get a lot of other smaller, you got a local version, Baton Rouge Office Space.com or org. A gentleman who's also a past client works, does that on a smaller scale, and his business has been good. So I
Hmm.
think you're seeing mixed reviews and maybe a higher end, the higher end spaces struggling a little bit more.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about before we jump out of here, a little bit about the team you've got over there. You got a marketing guy, which is
We
probably
have the
you know
market guy.
the marketing guy. I'm actually met with him the other day actually. So
Really?
yeah,
Yeah, he's awesome. Chase is we got Chase Weatherly, our marketing and communications director. It's amazing. Melissa Huber, she's our office manager. She really does a little bit of everything. She's been with the company since day one and is our right hand. We've got George Bovelam, who is our office specialist, specializes in office sales and leasing. Will Chadwick, retail sales and leasing. Mark Segala, multifamily sales. Keegan Finley, he's a newer commercial agent. He's lighting the world on fire, doing great. And then we have a couple of interns. We really have just a top-notch crew over here. Very blessed to have the
Yeah.
people that we have.
I would say top notch. I'm kind of bummed out for anybody who doesn't, to date us here. This is Mardi Gras.
Yeah,
You're all dressed up, and I mentioned it. I think it was George that did the podcast that I was watching that he was on with another group. I think it was like the Bear or something like that. I forget
yeah. Adam Berry. Hmm.
yeah, I think he did his show, but he was talking about, just the suit. And it's like, I tell people, I'm like, if you catch me in a suit, I'm probably coming out of the bank or headed to a funeral, one of the two. It's unfortunately, I'm just not
Yeah,
the suit guy.
yeah.
But but
Well, yeah.
what's the story from somebody we just talked about who's got the pulse, and
Hmm.
hopefully maybe you've got an answer, because to me the rumor mill is spinning, or it's been spinning. What is Amazon doing? Do you have any idea? Is there
Yeah,
any
yeah,
real
absolutely.
news, there?
Yeah.
Because I haven't looked at it, but
So
people keep saying,
yeah, they've got the old Cortana Mall under contract, and they've been
oh,
working
they
on that
do.
for several years. Yeah. So they have the old mall under contract, and it's people think the mall and they think it's one owner, but it's really more complicated than that. You have building that seems to be one building, but it's split into different parcels. So you actually have about five, six, seven different owners of Cortana Mall that all own a different piece of it. And so they've had to get all those owners on board, get it all under contract. And the Metro Council and Planning Commission just approved a rezoning for the project this month, February, and it's moving forward. It looks like they're in some of the final stages. I think they have some tax incentive abatement or whatever special deal request that is pending, but all looks good right now. They plan to build
Okay.
a 2.8 million square foot, 5-story distribution center. They're going to tear the old mall down. It's a 100-acre site, and everything basically except for one tiny building in the middle of the ring road at Cortana is going to be demolished, and they're going to build this brand new, beautiful Amazon building.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'd heard all the different, oh, they're going to do it. No, it's not going to happen. It's under God.
It's
It's not
been
going to
off and
happen.
on.
So it's just been, and that's where I was wanting to get to the source, but it sounds like we're there. We just got red tape to
Well,
get through at this point.
you never know. It's never a done deal until it happens, right?
Right.
So, people still remember Bucky's. I still get comments about what's going on with Bucky's. So Bucky's was coming to Baton Rouge. It was all over the news. I think within 5 minutes of somebody posting on social media, I had at least 10 friends share it, and people are still upset that that didn't go through. So let's hold out hope, uh, but not write it off as a done deal that Amazon's coming. Hopefully,
It,
hopefully it happens.
hopefully that'd be a big win for us here.
That'd
I
be
think.
great. I mean, turn Cortana Mall, a failed, yeah, not a failed, but I mean, a very successful, but uh, uh, a mall that had reached the end of its natural life, being completely redeveloped into an employment hub. That'd be great.
Well, I think it'd be, and then, so I've noticed some guys over at Amazon. I was talking with them. They were saying, if we do if the hub does make it,
Yeah.
here, we'll get Prime Now, which is
Ah,
1 hour delivery.
what? Are you
Yes.
serious?
Well, no, it's 2 hours on some item. It's 2 or 1 hour delivery where you can order
That's amazing.
anything that's from the hub, and you'd have, 1 to 2 hour delivery, for
That's
your
amazing.
items. So that's all I'm really worried about. It, the
I'm excited.
jobs, the economic impact. No,
Good.
we're out of Staples at the office, Amazon, and it's here in an hour. That's what I'm looking for.
That's a dream come true.
So, well, we don't get the full benefits. See, in New York, they can actually do alcohol. They'll deliver alcohol to
Ah,
so we're
yeah.
working our way there.
Yeah.
So, well, look, I appreciate you taking some time,
I
kind of filling
appreciate you
us in
having
on
me.
what's going on. Well, one thing to plug, because somebody told me this the other day, they went and bought some property, and maybe it'll give somebody an idea to give you a call. They were buying up some property around Cortana, some of the multifamily units,
Okay.
because the story is, obviously there's gonna be a lot of people there, but Amazon's gonna have would have a big team to get it off the ground and some
Yeah.
long-term rental, to it's actually some housing to where I think the
Great
guy that
idea.
was telling me he was buying, he had bought like a multifamily unit. He thought it was tanking, but obviously it's coming back. But the concept maybe is look at some of that property around there that maybe you wouldn't have looked at, because maybe there's a good chance if Amazon does go there, that's going to completely change that whole, area of town, I think.
Yeah. And you're in luck because
I
we have 23 acres immediately surrounding the ring road, all available for sale. So,
Oh, well, there you go.
yeah,
That's what somebody needs to go jump after, or
as
get a
close
couple of
as we
people
can
together.
get.
That's where all those workers are going to go eat lunch. So
Yeah, that's
somebody needs
right.
to
That's right.
grab it, hold it, and drop in a couple of restaurants. So,
Interest has skyrocketed for sure since the Amazon news.
yeah. Well, awesome. Well, again, I always say people have more important things to do than talk to me. So I appreciate you taking the time.
This has been great. I appreciate it.
Hopefully, we'll have you back, get another report, maybe see what goes on down the road. So,
Love to.
all right, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so much. Bye.
All right.